and 2022. And thank you for joining me at the Black Party. Today, we are going to talk about a Vox article, The Cost of Reparations. It was written a few days ago. I have not read it. So we're going into this with us learning at the same time. All right. Images by Christina Annie all right. This is written. Wait a minute, what we got here going on? This was written by Fabiola Senias. See, I got some problems starting off, but I'm gonna wait till the end. I'm gonna wait to see what we got going on up in here before and then have my judgment. Then I want to hear from y'all. Economist William Sandy Darity and folklorist Christian Mullen on how the United States can compensate Black Americans for slavery, Jim Crow, and ongoing discrimination. At the heart of the reparations debate are questions about what reparations for Black Americans could look like. If cash payments are one way forward, how much money would be sufficient to cover the horrors of centuries of slavery and decades of Jim Crow and racial discrimination? And how would the United States, with its inflation woes and mounting debt, pay for them? For the second episode of The 40 Acres, a special four-part miniseries on Fox, I'll give y'all that, I talked to the husband and wife duo, economist Sandy Darity and folklorist Christian Mullen, about the reparations framework they outline in their book, From Here to Equality Reparations for Black Americans in the 21st Century. Darity and Mullen's reparation framework is based on three elements: acknowledgement, redress, and closure. Okay. I like three steps, but that's keep it simple for the simple. I totally agree. Keep it simple. First, the United States will need to recognize and admit the grievous wrongs it has committed against Black Americans, and those who benefited from those wrongs must acknowledge the advantages they've gained as a result. I really could give two shits if they apologize or admit it. That part, I really, and got, I don't care. Darity and Mullen's plan for redress involves compensation. Here we go. To eliminate the racial wealth gap and disparities in income, health, education, incarceration, and more. Only then would the United States be able to arrive at closure, the point at which Black people and white people can come to terms over the past and reunite. Oh, I'm sorry, and unite to create a transformed United States. I'm going to say reunite because I'm going to take us back in time after I read. This is a short oracle. It ain't too long. I'm not going to read through. Okay, it's a little longer than what I anticipated, but I'm not reading through all that. We're going to skim through this real quick, what they talking about, the major parts, like the accompanying price tag, the Darity and Mullen calculated is $14 trillion. I talked to Darity and Mullen about how they arrived at this figure and how the U.S. could pay for it. All right. Now here we go. Here go where we have I have some issue. Our conversation also explored the proposed guidelines for eligibility. Only Black Americans who have identified as Black for at least the past 12 years. Huh? What? And who could prove that they are descended from the people formerly enslaved in the U.S. And we discussed piecemeal reparation efforts happening across the country, like housing vouchers doled out to the few Black homeowners in Evanston, Illinois, which they believe take away from the federal government's responsibility. Ultimately, Darity and Mullins show how America's unfulfilled promise of land has left Black Americans far behind. Below is an excerpt of our conversation, edited for length and clarity. There's much more in the full podcast, blah, blah, blah. All right. Wealth is the thing that makes it possible for individuals to obtain high quality medical care or legal counsel. Wealth is a thing that allows you to choose to participate in the political process. We know that it's really important in this country to not only vote, but if you're able to also support the political process financially. But everybody cannot afford to do that. It's mostly people who have wealth who have the opportunity to participate in the political life in this way. And that is absolutely accurate because, as we know, Our elections are bought. When you have to have over $1 billion invested to run for the president of the United States, then you know that this is nothing but a pay to play. This is all pay to play. They have lobbyists. Now, the one thing I hated about Black Lives, well, I ain't gonna say one. There were many things I disliked about the Black Lives Matter movement. It was ineffective, inefficient, and it wasn't set up by black people, nor was it for the benefit of black people. What they could have did though, with the numbers they had, the amount of momentum, I still see the signs in my neighborhoods and neighborhoods that I drive through to this day. They could have did was formed a lobbying group. Instead of buying multi-million-dollar mansions in Canada and LA and wherever the hell else, having tea parties or whatever the hell they were doing, they could have bought a shit apartment in DC and had some advocates live there and go up there and talk to those damn politicians and tell them, hey, I can not only bring you this population's vote, but I'll do XYZ. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. What we need is police reform. What we need is this, that, and the third. But no, they took that opportunity and destroyed a movement that could have been an exceptional thing for everyone, not just for Black America, but for Americans as a whole. That's going to go, later on when we talk about the history that's involved in this. All right. In your reparations framework, you arrived at about $840,000 for each eligible Black household. Boom. I'm cool with $840,000. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with $840,000. I'm not cool with anything below 500K. And when I say for each eligible, that means every head of household. So if if y'all grouped up like Mexicans and it's 15 of y'all up in the crib, grandma getting that check. You know what I'm saying? So I advise y'all to right now start getting independent, getting on your shit, get that, you know what I'm saying? So that you can be eligible for this because I'm pretty sure it's going to go to the tax paying people. You know what I mean? That's going how they're gonna have to write it up. Like it's going to go to the people that are head of household. That don't mean you gotta own a home. That just means when you have filed taxes or that where you live, you are the head of household. All right, moving on. That gives you a figure in the vicinity of $14 trillion. The 40 Acres Vox Conversation Series. Explore. Okay, I don't care now about that. Okay, so that was pretty much it. All right. So in this, like I said, they gave us a blurb about reparations, but the conversation is still going strong, and I think it needs to go stronger with us. I'm seeing a lot of my conscious creators on YouTube, which is the only reason I made this channel. My first two videos are about the queen or some bullshit because she died the first day I set the Black Party up. But I was like, we need people to stay focused right now. We need to stay focused on what's really important. And what's really important is getting what's due. What's really important is gaining some political power. What's really important is not only for us to be making moves here right now. I've been watching, like I said, a lot of the conscious YouTubers that are in, for the upliftment of the community. And what I'm seeing is we get distracted. We get distracted real easily. Certain conversations are a necessity and must be had, like the disrespect from those that are of us but go against us that come from different nations. Had to nip that. That had to be nipped, and I'm glad it did. I'm glad we now working on building back because the vitriol, the disrespect, the hatred for us when we honestly spent no time thinking of you. And I say that there was a vitriol because you created a slur for us. If any nation created or used a slur against us in a way, yo, come on. That's just mad disrespectful and unnecessary. Let's get focused. Let's get focused. Let's get focused on building. So, boom. I'm going to talk about the history. I told you I was going to come back to what I feel could get this ball rolling way quicker. In the early colonial days, as we know, This part of the country was used in the much way Australia was. It was a prison colony. So, what we have here today as generational descendants are criminals, descendants of rapists and thieves and murderers. They were sent here to work and mind and send things back to the queen. Once they grew in so many numbers and they were pretty much all self-sufficient and doing their own things, and this the racial divide wasn't there yet. This is what I want everybody to understand. Crispus Attucks was a black dude who threw a rock at one of the British overseers. Okay, so that's where the overseers come from. So he threw a rock at the overseer, and they shot him dead in the middle of the street. And so the white folks, the black folks, the whoever was here mobbed up and started whooping those overseers, British soldiers, asses. Like, what the fuck? Killed them. So then the Boston Tea Party, all that other shit, right away. We're gonna fast forward because y'all should know most of that. If don't, check out a library or something. I can't, completely tell you everything. But then what happened? And all this shit happened like in the 1800s, I'm gonna say early 18 to mid 18, right? This is when that whole racial shit started really jumping. Black men had the right to vote. Black men had the right to own property. That's why they had freedmen, you know what I'm saying, the freedmen banks, and they were senators and all this shit. Because that racial divide, much like the plan they doing now with the Southern strategy they using now, they used it back then in full force. But what they did was they made it a legal thing. Like if you were seen fraternizing with a Negro, you were in jeopardy of losing your land and your right to life and your freedom, basically. So what you had to do was tell that little white kid, you stay away from that nigger kid, because if you did, like which is so fucked up, is like the talk that they describe when black people have a conversation about the police with their child. White folks in the early 1800s had to have a talk with their children about the dangers of fraternizing with black folks. And it was because of penalty of losing their property, their livelihood, or their life, period. So from that moment, the generational, embedded, inbreeded hatred of black people started to form to where it's still here today. They still teach them, even though they have, and see, what's so funny about white supremacy is it doesn't necessarily benefit white people. It benefits rich people. But those rich people convince the white people that it benefits them. Therefore, they will fight to the death to keep that supremacy going. So I like to call it rich supremacy because that's really what it is. You pin the two factions against each other while you rape them both, while you just rob them both, and it's they masterminds. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who behind it. If we know a name, it's definitely not that person. I'll say that. But yeah, it's crazy. So let's fast forward to today and talk about these reparations. Cash payments are a must, definitely. That's I also believe though that there should not only be the reparations in the form of cash, but federal lands, which I think the government owns about 28% of the lands in the US, hand it over. We need to be separated. Complete separation. Because the only way to break this spell that's been placed on everyone is to separate. And then you'll see that that person cannot control you in any way or shape or form. And the other group will see that they have no reason to fear because there's only them there now. So they have no one else to blame. They'll start to look at who's really causing the situations that they find themselves in. But yeah, I don't want to make this too long. I did want to get on here and talk about this because I was reading and saw the Vox. Whenever I see something about reparations, I'm going to post about it. So Let me hear from you. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. If you're for reparations, please leave a comment. If you're against reparations, please leave a comment. I do engage. Like, share, subscribe, and always have a wonderful day.